I'm hoping it tells me when we are. Oh, okay. We're live. Great.
Hey,
Hi, everybody. So we are starting this exciting new series called the PR Power Hour, and it is. Hold on a second. When you use to the go live, once your streaming software connects, copy the stream key and enter select go live once your streaming software connects. Streaming software that's best for you depends on the type of content. So I'm assuming that we're live on Instagram because it's giving me a button here that says go live. Oh, okay,
you
great.
are live
Now
because
we're
I'm
live.
looking at your Instagram right now.
Okay, great. So there we go. So figured that piece out. And so my good friend, been friends a long time, at least 20 years at this point.
That's
Um,
about
yeah, this is Ronnie Rashida Turner, Muslim. Wait, is that your last name?
Ronnie Turner Muslim.
Oh, okay. That's the new last name.
Now,
Okay. Now it is. But
so many transitions.
oh yes, definitely. The wedding was at the Fox Theater, right?
Fox Theater.
Yeah. So it's been a while. She is joining me for the inaugural PR Power Hour, which is a 1 hour session we're going to be doing 3 times a week for entrepreneurs who need questions answered about their comms and PR strategies for their businesses. So we get questions all the time from people who really would commission a publicist if they could afford it, but they're too busy being the owner, the manager, the janitor, the accountant, the attorney, and everything else for their businesses. And they really can't fathom how they would spare $5,000 or $10,000 a month for a publicist. So they pretty much go without it. And that's what I call the remarkable forgotten founder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything in our SB Enterprises coaching program addresses all of the concerns of the forgotten founder. So Ronnie is an entrepreneur, like 4 times over
Oh my gosh, I
the
don't even know.
that she's had. And so, and she's also a super mom. She has 2 beautiful, gorgeous, talented kids. And I mean, when I say gorgeous, I mean like I'm not even understanding how gorgeous. I remember when they were little small babies and now they're
No.
like grown people.
Preteens, I can't take it. They went from being small humans to mid-sized humans. My son's taller than me now, so yeah.
Ooh, I feel like I'll be there when he's 10 because he's halfway there now.
Right.
So we're gonna be talking to Rashida's a mom and an entrepreneur. Rashida had hair braiding businesses.
Just a
Right,
lot specifically.
right, locks, sister locks, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what other businesses
Finance.
do you have?
Finance, where I was working with financial services, life insurance, investing, Series 663, coaching,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like the gamut. I always wanted to be a serial entrepreneur. But because I wanted to run my own show, but when the pandemic hit and, I did stop doing hair for a while and then went into like finance full fledged. But, you know, I created my life to move so that I can fill in the blanks for what's needed with the family. I could
Mm-hmm.
literally make money doing anything, right? So what I do is I fill in the blanks. Having a dual entrepreneurship household is really difficult because you have other things that need to be done. Now that my husband and I are of an age of colonoscopies and mammograms and whatnot, it gets to a point where
That was the
you're
most
like, okay,
way to say it too. We are
you
there.
listen, this is real, right? And so we're like, okay, health insurance and all of these just things that end up being so expensive, especially for a family of 4. It's like, or 5 really, because my stepdaughter, who is amazing, she's at FAMU now. And it just gets to a point where it's like, okay, what do we do? So I ended up getting a job for the first time in my life outside of, when I was working with you guys. And I was like, it's interesting. I enjoy it because it's in sales and it still gives me that kind of boss adrenaline, but it fills in the blanks, right? Now that my kids are older and they're finding themselves, my goal as mom is that I put them on a path that's going to set them up for success. I know what they don't know, right? So whereas my daughter, she is a triple threat superstar. She's amazing, right? Singer, dancer, actress. She's amazing. My son wants to be a politician, bless his heart.
He wants to be a politician?
He wants to be a politician. He is 13. He wants to be a politician.
I love it. So he's into government and civics, and
all of the things.
Right now, politics is insane. The wild ride, the unpredictable elections. They literally can't predict elections anymore.
They can't. And so it started off with a passion for history and just spiraled into governments across the world. He could literally tell you a country, their flag, how they got their independence, or, who was running the country, what other country was running the country, who is the leadership, what is the leadership regime. He's amazing. And so he's like, I want to do that. I want to be that. And so putting these kids on a path for success is my main mission. So whatever I got to do to fund that is what I do. So I still do hair. I have the full-time job at the company in sales. And I also support my husband. He has a business too. He has two businesses. He does credit restoration, and he's a barber. He owns a barbershop in Midtown Atlanta, not Midtown, West Midtown Atlanta. So I am all things.
Yeah,
to everybody.
As entrepreneurs means that time is always in short supply, in limited supply, because entrepreneurship knows no boundaries. You definitely,
and I work for these kids.
Institute boundaries. And when your kids get older and they have their own interests, well, I think one of the most stunning things for me as a mom is to find how many parents give up their own personal schedule and schedule every minute of their lives around their kids' extracurricular activities. It is so many. Let me tell
you something. I work at my job from 3 to midnight. I do that because that timeline for me allows me to go on field trips. It allows me to be present. As far as I work from home, so I can cook dinner, have dinner with the kids. I'm here for that, homework, that kind of thing. I can get them home from school before I go into work. But I can also kind of give to myself during the day. Because I now have a 3 to midnight schedule, I can sit here and do this. This is for me, for me to help gather myself for what some of my needs are, to help me even function with all that we have going on and all that's on the plate. And so this is my first week on the schedule, and I'm excited because I feel like so relaxed.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes as entrepreneurs and creators, when you've been an entrepreneur for so long, the idea of getting a job is terrifying, and some people equate it with failure, and it most certainly is not that, especially in the world we live in today, where the market is unpredictable. The political environment is unpredictable. All of it is unpredictable. And getting a job doesn't mean that it's a long-term solution. It means it is a right now solution. And then you will, figure out the rest as you go along. That's the thing about it, is that it's not a declaration of failure. It's like, this is what I need right now, given all of these different circumstances that have changed as I had a family, or
filling in the blanks.
Or taking care of an aging parent, or exactly. So all of those things, they require that we remain as flexible as possible, which I'm really excited about this conversation, because in your new entrepreneurial role as like momager, right? You've got a triple threat there. So that needs a lot of time and attention, especially when you don't want to start bringing in outsiders immediately, right? You've got this raw talent and you want to manage it as much as you can until you can't anymore. And then you will have outsiders come in. But for right now, as momager, you want to make sure that you're making all the right decisions you possibly can. So one thing about this conversation is that I think, just listening to you, I think it's pretty clear, right? I always say that what we're providing is solutions for the remarkable entrepreneur, right? Because not
Mhm.
everybody who starts a business has a remarkable business. I think
Right.
just listening to you, people can hear why you're a remarkable entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
You have moved through
Mhm.
the times and the phases of life, and and that's so funny. The colonoscopy mammogram phase of life. I never thought about it, but that is exactly what it is. But and now you're here and you have a little one who has a really bright light and you want to cultivate that. And that requires visibility and communications on a whole
Mhm.
other level, right?
Yeah,
That's not going to be the same as a visibility or communications campaign that you might do for like your braid shop or your
exactly.
husband's credit restoration, although those are companies that really do deserve a lot of communications and PR on their own. In this particular conversation, we're talking about in your role as momager.
Mhm.
So can we start with like, have you even given any thought yet to what what kind of PR or earned media or visibility needs that you might have at the stage where she is?
Okay, so I have given it some thought, but like I was saying when we talked before, I'm so far removed from like the PR life. I feel like I'm far gone from it. I'm like, where do I even start? And I try to, I'm like, daughter, I was dope. I was out there, doing PR, right? However, Zuri, I will say Zuri has a team. She does have a team in place. One of the things that we did early on was get her training at about 7. She was
Mhm.
turning 8. So at 8, she really started training with AGI Entertainment here in Atlanta. And
Mhm.
I found them just watching TV. I was watching The Voice, and there was Hello Sunday were like top at The Voice. And I was like, oh my gosh, those girls, they were like 14 years old. I was like, oh my gosh, those girls are in Atlanta. Who are they training with? And so immediately I'm nosy. I'm online. I'm like, who is this? And so I found them. And when I got there, I felt right. I felt protected, because you always want to be in an environment where your children feel protected, right? So I felt
Mhm.
protected there, and she's been with them. This is her 4th year in with them, and that they manage her. And then also through them, she was able to get a agent.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so she's with Jay Purvis, big time, super excited to be with them. But she recently booked her first movie. Super.
Exciting.
Oh my
How
God,
old
she's
is
been
she?
auditioning. Huh?
How old is she again?
Zuri's 11. She's
11.
11.
Booked her first
Mhm.
movie.
She's so professional because of her training at AGI. Like, she's such a professional. She's been auditioning for over a year, just auditions. And I'm like, girl, you don't get tired of auditioning? She's like, no, you auditioning, you forget about it. This is part of it.
No, that's right.
And
She's
I'm
like,
like, girl, you're learning rejection
mm-hmm.
way earlier and how to deal with it and manage it and all of the things and stay positive. Like, I'm so enamored with her. But in the meantime, I'm striving to do
Can we
what.
just pause? When a mom says she's so enamored with her daughter, that's just a beautiful moment that deserves recognition. Like, parents always express all of their frustrations and they're overwhelmed with their kids, and we're obsessed with our kids. But
Yeah.
when enamored is a whole nother level. But go ahead.
True. How true. You're right about that. I said, I'll tell her I'm your number one fan.
I love it.
That don't mean she don't get on my nerves though.
I know that part.
But I am, I watch I watch this small human be herself and be who she is and be in her space. She walks around with a level of confidence and self-awareness that it took me to get into like college and as a young adult to develop. And so I just want to make sure I'm doing right by her and also utilizing all the tools in my toolbox. And so that's why I'm here, to make sure that I have the right tools. And when we talk about what kind of media, public media and things like that I'm looking for her, that's also hard to say right now because social media is such a big part of any business, any, as a personality or anything like that. So that's one. But then also Zuri has amazing hair, right? And I want to be able to lean into that, she, lean into the hair. I remember when I was working with 135th Street Agency, you'd have us do, oh gosh, what is it? Media. I can't remember the name of it, but I had to look up the media calendars.
Oh, yeah. You have to know those because, otherwise you might be pitching a show when they're dark or, you might be out of season with your pitch. But yes, you have to know those. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm like, I know some things. I know some of the things to do to get to, create a pitch around, certain times of year or certain topics. But I could see her doing some, magazines and, newspaper. I would love to see her on J HUD. That's like my dream for Zuri. She was like Zuri loves Jennifer Hudson too. So I know she's just amazing. But yeah, so I thought about it, but again, I'm just like, where do I even begin now?
So let's talk about the hair first before we even get into the how you would launch a PR campaign for her. But because I think you have so many different angles you can work it from.
Go with her, yeah.
But let's start with the hair. What is it? What's spectacular about the hair?
Okay, so Zuri has sister locks. Yeah, she has sister locks like me. So very tiny locks. Not really seen in the entertainment space either. And not really seen on little girls like that. Mm-hmm. Her hair is so amazing because for me, the level of freedom that I have of not having to do little girl, I never wanted to do little girl hair. I told my husband before we even had kids, when we have a daughter, she's having sister locks. I'm not doing that. I'm not getting into, but my hair needs to be doing this. It's not doing right and all that. She wakes up like this. You know what I'm saying? She wakes up
hilarious.
Fabulous.
If you think little girl hair is hard, have a little boy. The screaming, and yelling, and no, I mean like I'm just saying having their hair every morning. Every boy mom I know who's like myself who does not want to cut their hair, they are like, I have to fight the desire to want to get a haircut just so that we don't have to go through the screaming. Like the screaming is crazy. I love when people Instagram videos of this. I'm like, this is insane. Boys are not just me.
Boys are on a different level. My son came to me in the 3rd grade and was like, he wanted locks. And so I did them for him, but to retighten his locks was a headache because he was so tenderheaded and so everything. And then when he was like, he didn't want the locks anymore, I said, go to your dad. Go to your dad. Cause he's a barber. You do that. You do what you do. I'm gonna do what I do. But he had mohawk, like, the sides were cut, locked at the top. These kids, he didn't even know. First of all, to get that hairstyle alone is so expensive. You're going to pay like $40 to $50 for the haircut, and you're going to pay like $80 for the locks minimum, right? Boy, you don't even know how good you got it.
Exactly. They don't even care. And there's people out there who care and like, oh my God, he has a ton of hair, and he could care less. Everybody's
no.
I'm like, I'm not cutting this hair. I'm sorry.
Oh, he's so cute too. Oh my gosh, such a button.
I'm so obsessed with him. But so we know about the magic of the hair. So you just hearing her story, has had management since she was 7, booked a movie at 11.
No, the management actually didn't come until 9.
Oh, okay. So she's had management for 2 years.
She's been training since she was like turning 8. Like her birthday, she started training in December. Her birthday is January. So, she was like 8 pretty much when she started training. And then, it's really only been about 3.5 years.
So all of that, the look, I'm sure, I remember when she was a baby, that was the most gorgeous baby. And I've seen photos of her on Facebook, delicious. And, and she's, got the confidence factor and all of that. Let's start with, you definitely know that. Why do you feel like PR would benefit you where you are right now?
So I feel like getting a plan in place would help us be intentional. being intentional is very important as we move forward. I've been intentional about everything with the kids. When Zuri did get her first management, I started a business for her called Beautiful Reflections Co. It's actually an S corp, because I wanted her to be able to have a loan out company where, you know, they pay her company pays her. Even though she just got booked. I wanted to be in place. I'm a firm believer of be ready so you don't have to get ready.
Absolutely.
So right now, that's when I actually ended up getting the job too, because if Zuri has to go places, I can't do hair in places. You know what I mean? I have to be in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
And so, even with, you know, this upcoming role, it's in an area where I can easily, you know, work. So I never wanted to be in a position where, you know, Zuri had to do this in order for us as a family to maintain our financial means. And so I wanted to just set everything up in place in the company, and having a plan in place for her is no different. Absolutely. You know, I don't want it to get away from me. And now someone else is telling her story, and someone else is, you know, giving life to a narrative that maybe we aren't all the way on board with. Absolutely. So that's pretty much why I want to, you know, start getting things in place from now.
Well, so I love that you want to move with intention through it, because one thing about a lot of parents of young superstars is that they have the drive, but not a long-term plan, because probably one of the biggest things about young actors, actresses, you know, musicians, whoever, is that as they grow up, they're going to change completely from how they look now. And the industry is very unforgiving about that. So that's why you have some people who become celebrities when they're, you know, very young, child stars. And then they're already messed up by the time they get to 12 years old, because they've experienced high highs and low lows, and feeling like a failure when the heat comes off, because you grew up and you're not that cute little, you know, fluffy kid anymore. Then it's like, how do I handle this thing that feels like failure when, you know, nobody told me this was how it was going to feel when I grew up, when I wasn't a kid anymore. And so I see a lot of parents who, you know, everybody has a what they think is the most gorgeous baby in the world, myself included. Myself included, most gorgeous baby. But as your kid grows up, you have to be ready for the fact that the industry is just not going to be as excited about them, because they've lost that fresh, new, you know, baby kind of excitement. And so that's part of it. Also, long-term plan, right? So that the industry does not run you.
Right.
There's phones all over the place in here.
No worries.
Because the industry is going to do what it does. If you don't have a plan, you're you're on a ride you're not controlling, right? So like, what do you want long term? One of the first things that I always teach in my masterclass is that PR is an effort in positioning. Come on. PR is an exercise of positioning. And people don't even understand that, but that's the most critical thing. It's not about being as I usually say to people who I can kind of like smell it on them, like, oh, are you just trying to be the biggest celebrity you can be? Because it really just isn't for that. It is literally an exercise in positioning. That's why it's for everybody, even though everybody doesn't take advantage of it. Most people who are trying to be famous are the ones who take advantage of it. But positioning means being positioned as an authority in your area, and literally like an industry standard, like how your methods, your ways and means, how you do it, how you accomplish the goal. Literally, you're positioning yourself to be a category leader. And that is what PR does for you, right? So it takes a person's talents and their unique abilities, and it positions it as a standard, gold standard, a global standard, whatever it is. That's the real goal of PR. It's not really just about that one hit or a couple of hits on TV. When it's done well, it's a positioning campaign that keeps you constantly taking steps up in your career, especially when you have a young talent, and she's a triple threat. Like, which way do you want to go in terms of positioning? Like, do you want to see her eventually become a big singer or a big actress, or is her heart really in dance? Like, where does she see herself in 10 years? That's a question to the kinds.
And it's a tough question with kids, right? Because they change. Right, as of right now, Zuri first she came in and it was just all about singing, right? And now she's like, all into acting, and I think she just wants to be able to utilize her talents in a space that's working for her. And so it's really entertainer. I wouldn't even say it's just one or the other, because especially in this industry, you really have to get in where you get in, and then you transition from there. Like, she likes theater, she likes movies, she likes TV, she wants to sing. I see her, songwriting now, like in that whole space, and script writing at AGI. They have the kids script writing and holding whole productions and whatnot. So she's really in a position where she gets to explore all sides of the entertainment industry, along, and develop talents in all areas. And so when it comes to where do we see her in 10 years, I feel like it really is going to depend on how she twists and turns. At the same time, she can still be established and positioned, like you're saying, as an authority, as a figure in that space, and be able to fluidly move throughout whatever area of entertainment she wants to be in.
No doubt. So here's the thing, like, could you see her one day wanting to attend Juilliard and be in a small but world-class group of entertainers and talent? Like, could it go that way, or do you feel like she could just say, I really want to be more on the, I really want to be more on the back and produce and write and be a, like, where could you see it going? And the reason why I'm asking is because number one, what PR is because you worked with 135, for so long. The vast majority of entrepreneurs out there, they've heard the word PR when spoken along with in a celebrity context or an influencer context, but the truth is, they have no idea what PR is. They have no idea what earned media means, right?
Yeah.
They think marketing is PR. Some people think sales is PR. Some people think social media is PR. The decoding and demystifying that we do on a regular basis. Let's talk about what we're talking about. What are we talking about here? We've had a million times a client will call and say, I've got this big event going on and I need to sell tickets. I need PR. We're like, PR doesn't sell tickets. It positions your like a destination.
Noteworthy.
Everyone
something needs where to be.
An ad campaign sells tickets. That's the whole thing. It's kind of like if you are running your Instagram account and they say, do you want more people to look at this ad? Boost it. It's the same exact concept. It's like, if you want this particular thing, then you go this route. But if you want this thing, then you go this route. And so PR is not going to sell your tickets. That's not what it's for. And you'd be wasting your money if that's where you're putting your energy. But that it's an education process. And one of the things that I teach in the masterclass and in our green room PR course is like, first let's talk mindset, right? Like, why are we doing this? What do we want out of this positioning? What are we trying to be positioned into? And then we can clearly identify any obstacles, limiting beliefs, doubts, and things like that are in the way, because if they exist, they're definitely in the way. You have to believe you can have it in order for you to get it. But first we got to talk about what it is. So awesome. that's that's why I'm asking these questions. Like, I could, if based on the way you describe her, my mind is going to Juilliard. It just is.
So Juilliard, so traditionally people want to, and this is just across the board, even when you're talking about like just pure entrepreneurs, but traditionally people want to put you in college because you're successful, or they see you as successful. And that's not always the direction.
Absolutely.
If Zuri is at 11 in movies and on albums and doing the thing, is Juilliard what she needs at 17? I don't see that for her. Zuri. So Zuri will, when she has conversations with people, she'll straight up say, if I go to college, then blah, 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 blah. She wants to go to an HBCU. I mean, she's my reflection. So she wants to, be like mommy to an extent, right? I went to HBCU, went to Delaware State University. So, she's like, I want an HBCU experience. That, the college thing may change. And we're going to be as fluid as possible when it comes to that. But if she goes to college, I personally, as her mother, like for her to have a college experience. I don't want her to be trained in the art, because she's been training in the arts since she's 8. So if she goes to college, then I as her mom, I just kind of recommend that she goes to college for something that's going to enhance her overall brand and business.
And life experience.
Life experience. I want her to have like a real college experience if she does that. Not necessarily I'm training to do what I want to do, but I'm already doing it. If that makes sense. So I just see, I want Zuri to be a triple threat, and I want her to be established as a triple threat. I want people to say, Zuri does it all. She acts, sings, and dances. Boom. And that's who she is. That's her brand. That's what she's known for. And I see that Zuri will I'll tell you exactly where it ends up. It ends up with the EGOT.
Great.
That's an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. That's Zuri's dream, to have an EGOT. So whatever positioning we need to put her in to get there, that's the work.
A lot of people do the Juilliard training in order to get.
Oh, absolutely.
In order to get to that, because there used to be a time where positioning, when you talk like positioning in that particular category as a triple threat, as a multi-hyphenate, it required that kind of Juilliard training. And if you can remember, there was a little kind of like, I won't even call it a dust up, but when a lot of rappers started being cast in serious roles in the early 2000s, and Sam Jackson had made a comment, something about, you've got all these Juilliard trained students of color that can't get roles because if it is for a person of color, it goes to a rapper. I mean, I think it's a good thing when barriers like that are broken down, because they were erected for a reason as a gatekeeping tool. It's always great when more people can come in, but it is also great that to have something that is merit based. So I understood what he was saying, but by no means do you have to have a Juilliard training to get an EGOT. I just wanted to know where your head was at. But definitely doing all the things, which it sounds like she's doing. She's definitely on the road there. And positioning, are you positioning as talent first or some kind of core philosophy first, like mental health and wellness for girls? Because what you're doing is something that has a lot of it has a lot of attention on your physical body, and a lot of girls struggle in that area. Or defining beauty for yourself, having locks, and in an industry where you don't see much of that, is sometimes people want to be positioned for this one belief, philosophy thing that they talk about everywhere.
I like that. And Zuri and I actually have had conversations surrounding that exact thing. Right now, I'll say it's talent first, because that's what we've been working on. But we've talked about, Zuri, what's important to you? What kind of causes do you want to, like, she and her brother are discussing starting a 501c3 to assist homeless kids with clothes. You know, she likes fashion. She likes that kind of thing. And when I asked her, she said she wants to clothe homeless children.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was, yeah. And so, you know, as we are thinking about positioning, I would like for it to be more than just the talent, because it's a lot of talented kids out here, especially where we live in Atlanta. It's like you sneeze on some talent, like at your school, it's like, you know, 20 kids that's, you know, just as talented as you are. And especially in the circles that Zuri's in at her homeschool co-op, and then at Dream Academy, and then at AGI, like she's surrounded by talented kids all the time, which again, with the intention, iron sharpens iron. That's why she's in those spaces. But at the same time, yeah, having something more than just the talent is ideal for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always a big person on, you know, encouraging and inspiring women and girls. That's always been big to me. But you know, Zuri's been hustling so much with the talent thing and just trying to balance, you know, school and, you know, work, because essentially, you know, it's work. Yesterday, she went to work. She went to lay down some background vocals for an artist here in Atlanta. So, you know, she works trying to balance. So I do want to lean more into something more than just the talent. It's talent, but she needs something more to promote herself as having a stance on something.
Yeah, I always suggest to clients, like, you want to, what would you never get tired of talking about? I could talk about this all day long.
That's good.
Sleep. If you don't pay me for it, I'm still going to talk about it all day long. That's one of the things that you want to just figure out, because when you're building a platform, you build it for a reason, and then you want to make sure that you're using that platform to benefit whatever cause you are passionate about. And you want to be able to, you know, have that what usually transitions into a long-term plan. When what you're doing right now, you get tired of it, or it gets tired of you, the industry changes, the world changes, standards change. Everything these days is up for grabs. Everything changes every 2-3 years.
Quickly. Yeah.
You know, what is that thing that you'll never get sick of talking about? So that's part of the mindset of and which is the hardest part of the entire program that we offer, is digging deep into the mindset piece, making sure that you understand what earned media is and public relations, making sure that you understand what you want to be positioned as and why, and then identifying obstacles. The obstacles, even on the back end, when people are servicing a campaign as a publicist, they still battle with, you know, like limiting beliefs and doubts and things that get in the way and prevent them from giving their all to the pitch. Because anything that you're doing where you're pitching, you're going to have a very high failure rate, right? If you land 10% of your pitches, you're doing great. No one's getting 100%, no matter who they are and what they're pitching, right? And so the non-response and or decline is to be expected. It's about the filter you put it in. If somebody's not responding, not taking that personally and letting it destroy your ego or damage you personally, or you put it in that same column you put everything else in. See, I knew they weren't going to respond. See, I knew they weren't interesting. You know, a lot of that type of stuff is the reason why entrepreneurs don't get press, because they don't think that they're worthy. But they don't realize that, because the words coming out of their mouth sound like confidence, but their behavior speaks doubt. It's like, oh, no, I knew they were gonna, I knew that. I said, I thought, I told you, you know, that kind of thing. And even when you're doing the work, hi Danita. I have the IG live comments open on this side. That's how come I keep looking. And she said, thank you for sharing these nuggets. But the one of the things about it is you want to make sure that you aren't paying lip service to confidence that isn't really there, because you can't psych yourself out. the way you think and believe and your expectations are most definitely going to overpower the words coming out of your mouth. The words do need to speak life into your dreams, goals, and what you want. But if you don't believe it,
Yeah.
it's you know, like that's why we have a good amount in the position for profit challenge that I have, in the green room PR course, and even in the masterclass. We talk a lot about doing the hard work of mindset, because it's taken me a lifetime. I don't know if you remember, but I've always suffered from anxiety. Like, I used to have real bad anxiety attacks. Even though I'm willing to, nobody's going to outwork me. I'm willing to, go without sleep, do whatever I have to do to try to achieve the goal. It
Right.
was the worry about if this is going to work that was killing me. Like, I had to come up with real strategies on the anxiety, because my actions were like, I believe this is going to work, I'm going for it full force, but my mind is slowing me down, because it's like, I don't know, what if this doesn't happen? And the worry was just like consuming. And I don't know if there's anybody on here who's ever had an anxiety attack, but for me, mine's would be like somebody shook up a bottle of soda and then kind of twist the you feel like everything, the bubbling that's inside the soda, but it's right here on your
Right.
chest. So it's almost like a vibration. And you're like, damn, I am not in control of this right now. You can feel it coming. You're like, it's kind of, like kind of like a little level
Like you
thing.
feel it.
Oh yeah, I feel it. And now I
You
have
know,
all kinds of strategies, like put my feet on a cold floor, like
right.
all kinds of things.
So mindset is a huge thing, and I believe that it has to be a huge thing, especially in the entertainment industry, like that. Like I said, she's taught me quite a bit too, just watching her go through all of this seemingly rejection. See, my adult mind wants to maybe label it as that, auditions, you didn't get it, auditions, you didn't get it, like literally like 100 probably auditions. But the mindset that already she has for herself. And then also, I've been working on mindset a lot myself, reading, lots of books, and The Secret is one of my favorites. However, she is, when it comes to belief, she knows, like she knows, like she knows, you know what I mean? She knows, like she knows, like she knows that it's for her. And because of that, I know, like it's not even a question, whatever. It just is. Looking
With
for a
the
charger.
with the 100 auditions that she did not get, like I guess the right way to frame it is, now you got 100, wait till it's 1,000. Like,
exactly. No, she automatically translates it in. Yeah, she automatically translates it into, and so do I. Look how much better you're getting at auditioning. Like the 100 auditions made it so that, the one that she received now, the job that she booked now, they shaped her. They taught her, how to be in front of a camera, we watched like her first audition, and it's like, compared to now, it's like, ooh, that was hard. Right? Hard to watch. But it is an exercise, and anything worthy, as you know, anything worthy takes the exercise. You practice how you play. It's the repetition. It's the all time. But it's also knowing where to place that. Because anybody else, like I said, the adult mind would maybe want to place that as rejection, but no, that's not it at all. It's exercise. It is conditioning. It is practicing to win, and also ultimately positioning yourself so that you can recognize the win. And I will say, Zuri, she, like I said, I'm just impressed. But where she goes, they teach her that, at AGI, they teach these kids how to be that professional. They teach them, like, okay, this conditioning that you're doing, it is so that you can be the best. They even set the expectation. Miss Natasha over at AGI, she said it's going to take four years. It's like 4 years.
Wow.
I told her. And so Zuri was already conditioned that it's not going to be overnight. It's not just going to happen. You know, if it does, then great. But it's so when Zuri booked the job, you know, they called us and I said, Miss Natasha, you said we're in our 4th year now. You set the expectation, not just for the kid, but for the adult, for the parent.
Do you also set numbers, kind of milestones on the amount of auditions in the process?
Not necessarily, because somebody could get their first audition and, you know, and again, it's not down to a complete science, but I think what she's speaking of when she talks about is that 10,000 hours that, you know, going after it and you're going to make a lot of attempts, you know, even in camp, like if say it's not auditions, it's camp, right? And you're in camp or you're in training and you're training for years, right? And then boom, somebody sees you at a showcase and they're like, yep, you're the one. You're the next thing. So it's the conditioning and the understanding that it does take time. And to speak to Samuel L. Jackson's point of you can take out Juilliard and insert any level of training. You know, people have gone through training to do this. And then people are coming from over here into the space and out of nowhere. And the people who have been training forever can't get, you know, the opportunities. But
you said with modeling, and as I transitioned into TV, I took rejection personal, learning that mindset is important. Mindset is literally everything.
It is everything.
In my course, we spend more time on mindset than anything else, because once you remove the obstacles, and the goal of the course is to make sure that you remove the obstacles quickly, not take decades to do it like I did.
Exactly.
But yeah, like that is everything. Also, the 10,000 hours thing, I'm gonna make a suggestion to you real quick. I went to this conference last year called Offer Mastery Live, most transformational, life-changing I've ever been to in my life. There was a speaker there named Benjamin Hardy. He wrote several books with a business coach named, I think his name is Dan Sullivan, something like that. But he has a book called 10X is Better Than 2X. Have you heard of it?
I've heard the term 10X, but let me see. So I'm look it up.
I'm reading the book now, right? When I do my Central Park walks and all of that. I drop my son off and I am like 6 chapters in. But when just watching him on stage, I knew it was going to be dynamic, but the way that they have these principles, and one thing you just mentioned, the 10,000 hours principle. So they literally say that is 10,000 hours is kind of, it's trash, right? They're not saying 10,000 hours is trash, but
taking that hour time.
Those 10,000 hours, are you spending 10,000 hours doing the same thing? Or are you spending 10,000 hours learning, failing quickly, recalibrating and moving on? So they said 10,000 iterations is really it. And
that's more what I would say she teaches. That's more of what she teaches, that getting
fail fast, fail quickly, learn
and put in the work.
And
it's about putting in the work, pivoting.
Mistakes. Absolutely.
Being able to pivot. I like that. I'm gonna get that. I'm in charge of the book club at my job. I'm gonna check that out so I can recommend that too, because it sounds phenomenal. Like the work on mindset it translates or transcends industries. You know, even as a parent, there's a book called Mindset by Carol DeWitt. And that book, I guess, transformed me as a parent and how I even talk to my kids. Because a lot of parents, you know, we were raised like this. Oh, such and such is so smart, and you know, and using words like that instead of applauding the efforts. Because what can happen at times is when you don't win, get the thing, get the best grade, get the booking, get whatever, and you only see reward, and I don't even say reward, just a big deal made about the win, what's perceived as the win, then that can also limit you from wanting to even try. Right? Because, I'm not going to win, or if I don't win, or trying things that you know you will get, in opposed to applauding a lot of effort, the work that goes into what's been done. Because people can do no work and get things done all the time. And it's just kind of like, but you didn't even try.
Right. I think that as overall as a society, we have a really twisted way about how we do not celebrate the failures along the way to the win. And I think that that is especially taught in school. Like, I think that just the entire way that we were taught in school, and, you know, they touch on that in 10X's Better Than 3X as well, that our current school system was created to satisfy a demand that the industrial age needed, because they needed people to be like a factory of workers to be, you know, graduated, right, so they could start working. And the world has changed. The industrial age is over. We're more of like the attention age right now. Attention is how you get paid, not in money. People pay with their attention. And so you turn that into commerce. But I think that, you know, when, to your point about how we might praise kids and say, oh, you're so smart, or so-and-so is so pretty, or however it goes, that we need to celebrate the failures along the way. Like every time, and all of parenting is constant work, right? Because the whole, you know, this is the PR Power Hour about mom entrepreneurs. This thing did not come with a guidebook, right? You are a parent, and here you are, and you're running a business, and you got the personalities that pop up pretty much around 3-4 years old, and they're like telling you what to do and all of that, and
they're completely different by the time they hit preteen.
Woo, I'm afraid of that.
I will say before I lose this thought about like the 10X and all that, like my husband has this saying where he says he paid, like, you know, at his, to get him to cut your hair, any haircut is probably between like $50 to $100, depending on the time of the day, because he owns a 24-hour barbershop. So if you coming in at, you know, after midnight, after 9 o'clock, and you get your hair done on a Sunday or after hours, like, it's going to cost you more. Absolutely. And a lot of times he says, you're not paying the $100 for the haircut necessarily.
You're paying for the access.
Not just the access, but that $50 to $100 is not about just what you're getting. It's about the haircuts I messed up when I was 14. It's about it literally, because it's all the work, the failure, the work, now that I've done all the failing, all the succeeding, all of the, I got to try again. I got to start over. I got to blow up my business. All of the things to make me an expert today. Mm-hmm. That is what you are paying for.
That's all chalked up to expertise. That's how you get there.
That's how you get there.
And I mean, when we talk about like the program it talks about like, we don't service every entrepreneur. We service remarkable entrepreneurs. These are people who have businesses that are, you know, at a certain level because of the expertise that they have poured into it, the dedication and all of that. And that's why, you know, the program is tailored to a T to high-level businesses. But what takes a business from a startup to a remarkable business is that X factor of where all the failures went in, of all the iterations, of all the times you had to stop, recalibrate, and get started again. And in 10X is better than 2X. I mean, the way that they calibrate, the way that they in sharp detail define that process of, you know, measuring yourself against your last failure, not against your so-called competition or, you know, some high ideal. Like you stay in competition with yourself. And I think that is the best lesson parents can teach right now, because as an entrepreneur, if you're caught up in competing with other businesses and your kids see you running your business, they're going to think that they are in competition with all these other people. I am in competition with no one. No one is on my journey. Absolutely. No one understands how to do this thing like I have chosen to do it. And I'm okay with that. And people don't understand, even though you're going to get a lot of lip service from people who think that they know how to run a business, like they know how to raise your child, like becoming a parent. Everyone on the street, even teenagers who don't even have kids, every family member, everybody on the street has some kind of opinion about how you should do things with your kid. Literally, you just have to have the filter where you're like, thank you, because they do think they're helping. Thank you. And just throw it
Bless
into
their hearts, as we say in the South.
exactly. You have to throw it and move forward. And entrepreneurs, same thing. Everybody thinks that they know what it's like to run and build this business, even though they haven't done it. And so you just have to take that commentary for what it is and then stick to your North Star and do what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the next thing is we have probably like 15 more minutes, but I wanted to talk about the next part, which is once we get out of mindset and we go into figuring out where you want now. Once we get through mindset and you talk about what kind of positioning you are interested in, what would be the potential obstacles to that, and do I really know why I want this positioning? The next thing is, who should I really be looking to be positioned with? Because you're not going to get all the media coverage on your list. You're going to get a couple of things. And where should you really be spending your time and energy? Because a lot of people go for the big names that they've heard of, when the truth is that if you have a local business that is, you know, in Jacksonville, Florida, and you have the best damn curry vegan empanadas that people fly from all over the world for, you don't need big coverage. You need to first lock down all that local coverage to make yourself the rock star in your market, and then start to expand out the rock star of the Southeast region and make it until you move up into like some kind of global destination. But you're not going to start at global destination and then start locking down your neighborhood. Like, that's not how it works. And so, you know what, let's talk about some of the things that you have wanted to, like, where are some of the places where you wanted to see her get covered, or, short-term vision, not the long-term stuff, but the stuff that you think more immediately you'd be interested in being positioned in.
So, having worked with you for years, I do see that I know the value of local media and, you know, the build up and all of that. With what she has going on, I'd like to see Metro Atlanta,
Definitely.
mainly initially Metro Atlanta, even as small as, just, Stone Mountain, Metro Atlanta, being that she is working on a national project, maybe global project, that also may play a part. And then, of course, online media.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
that's
anything about the perimeter outside of Metro Atlanta, like in that entire Southeast area? I feel like there's definitely big.
Yeah, like, yes, the Southeast is, well, even moving further out, because you're starting to see, opportunities in like Florida. Texas is doing some stuff now. Matthew McConaughey's doing that big push to get movies made in Texas.
Everyone, 50's building that studio in New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans, that kind of thing, and just kind of getting her regional coverage as well, because even for this is a regional thing. So
are you allowed to say?
Okay.
So, like, let's say shooting in wherever XYZ, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and I considered that. Yeah,
would be there. Definitely that local Atlanta area. And also, because of her age, I feel like a lot of the opportunity exists in some of the, family press and media.
Family press.
A small magazine here in New York City. I mean, it is New York City, but it's New York Family. When I tell you the level of influence of that magazine, and when they feature regular families that we all know and see all the time, but when they get in there, it is like status, like a deal. And I'm sure every city has that, but those types of things is where, moms are reading to see. If I have a kid who's interested in drumming, in acting, in dancing, like, what resources would I look for?
What resources are there?
Things. I'm even to the point where, like, local podcasts is something that a lot of people didn't used to spend a lot of time on. And
podcasts are big for me.
But I'm even at the point where, especially since becoming a mom, your local mom group, I would treat that as a media outlet because people have no idea. We have a local group out here called Harlem for Families, and it's like a list.
Mhm.
When I say nobody moves without that group, I mean people are like, I need a recommendation for electrician, a plumber, a contractor. Can I get cheaper Wi-Fi than Spectrum? But everyone's reading all the messages at the same time. Like, I'm into the, non-traditional creative era of what it
Yeah.
needs to get covered. Like,
Yeah.
those kinds of things make a big impact locally.
It's literally like the new grassroots, it's not knocking on doors anymore. It's really maximizing these spaces. These
Mhm.
spaces. Like, I'm on Nextdoor. I had to mute Nextdoor because they're always talking about like a lost dog or something. Bless its heart,
Mhm.
that it's lost. But I had to mute Nextdoor, but the level of activity in Nextdoor is wild. It's like a little app about your community. It's like these community apps.
Uh-huh. I just got an alert that the Instagram part of it disconnected because they have a 1 hour limit. I had no idea about that. See, this
Gotcha.
is part of the
No,
learning process.
the
Uh,
learning curve.
yep, learning curve. I am
Mhm.
just finding out about it. So unfortunately the Instagram people, folks who was watching, they are disconnected, but we can go
You'll
back.
be able to save it, right,
Mhm.
from Instagram. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, when it comes to like local media, and then also we do have to clearly define who her audience is, because when we get, really flush out the position, that we're looking for and all of that and the obstacles, and it's going to clearly identifying her audience. Because like right now, as I'm building and working on her Instagram page is not necessarily for other kids as much as it is a business card.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like a business card for people looking for her services and her talent. So when we're looking at even, press outlets or earned media, we really want to position her to get in front of people who are looking for, or entities who are looking for things that she does and what
Mhm.
she has to offer. Of course, kids and family. She's a child, so she'll have a natural, following there. She's able to be invited to more opportunities, but ultimately her audience are decision makers, gatekeepers,
Mhm.
um, who will decide whether or not to use her versus someone else in a project or for an opportunity.
Now, what you just said touched on so much. I'm gonna challenge it in one way. If your goal is to position her as a powerful voice on a certain issue in the future, I would say that right now we live in our community era. Even the way that algorithms have changed and all the social media outlets have taken away the weight of just your followers, and they've replaced it with your ability to create community with your page and get a
Mm.
community that is invested in this one particular issue to come to the table constantly because you speak about this one thing. I would say that her power and influence is going to be exponentially stronger if
Mm.
her community
It's
grows with
strong.
her, as in it's not just decision makers, as in it's people her age and that she has actual influence over, and she builds a community of like-minded thinkers and people like that that move along with her. Because
And
there,
you're right.
yeah,
Yeah, because
there's
people
level
are getting
of
booked just off of their communities.
yeah, and the decision makers, I mean, let's all be honest, they're followers, right? They're all looking to see what the next person is doing. And having a them be the main audience is like, it's cool, but they're going to age out of that and get tired of it or get over
Hmm.
by the next generation of decision makers. It's really about that community. That is the win. That is the resource
Perfect.
right there.
Perfect.
Especially when you're starting young and the world is yours. Building that community, that is where the attention, the community, that's where your treasure is.
Perfect. I love that. So when I talk to Zuri, because I have to, you know, I can't make the decisions for her. I have to have these conversations with her, especially that one. What are you so passionate about that you could talk about it all? I have a feeling I know what she's gonna say, but you know, I have to flesh out that conversation with her, because I don't want to push her in any direction. You know, I want things to be organic with her, right? Because it's gonna. Right. And she may not know. We'll but she is pretty self-aware too. I have a feeling it's probably going to be along the lines of just like Zuri wakes up singing. She wakes up singing. When she was 3, her brother and sister were sleeping, and it was like 10 o'clock at night, and she was singing to the top of her lungs. And I said, Zuri,
at 10 o'clock. So she also has limitless energy.
And it's always been that way. And I said, Zuri, your brother and sister are sleeping. They have to go to school in the morning. You can't sing so loudly. This baby said, but singing loud is what I do. How can you shut that down? As a parent, I can't shut it down. I gave her another like 15 minutes before like clapping it up. Great job, Zuri. You know, like
I love it.
Clap it up to shut it down. So, you know, and she was content with that, having that audience. But she wakes up now. Zuri, go in the garage, Dad's sleeping. Like she wakes up at 6 o'clock, 7, 6 o'clock, getting ready for school. And she's singing because, again, also she's always rehearsing, and she finds pockets of time to do that. And so she'll be singing while she's, you know, getting dressed. And I'm like, girl, go get dressed in the garage where the echo is good, is nice, and your dad is asleep.
I'm okay with her actually waking Dad up. I'm sorry.
Again, the 24-hour barbershop.
Oh yeah,
he don't get
working on
right.
Night? Okay, yeah, no, let's not do that. Because I'm like, come on now, get some of this voice.
Talent. So yeah, I'm going to flesh that conversation out with her, because she also has amazing ideas too, you know. And so as we flesh out the conversation as to, you know, what you want to build a community around, that's what we'll start to do. And as we do that, I'll be able to answer some of the questions that you have here, like what obstacles and how are we positioning that, and what are we holding true to even while all of these amazing twists and turns in your entertainment career is happening. What are we holding true to that people can follow along with and follow your journey fully along the way? So lots of nuggets and jewels today, Shantae. I know you're the GOAT, but you're the GOAT. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I feel like, you know, we've had 135 for 20 years.
Yeah.
And in those 20 years, we have launched a lot of campaigns for billion-dollar brands, right? You know, like Google, YouTube, Disney, Netflix, Apple TV, Paramount, a lot of places. I feel like that it is definitely time for us to focus on almost like a calling to support our global entrepreneurs. Because I think I shared this with you before, but my son had surgery in December. And that really, if nothing else is a before and after moment in life, that was it. I feel like my faith is on a level I've never known it to be. I was always unsure, like, I don't know, is that really like, is God speaking to me, or is that just me trying to wishful think and justify myself?
Right.
Because nothing works my nerve more than people who reason back their way into reasoning everything they do by saying God told them to do it.
Right.
But one of the things that I've been trying to like really zero in on is calling, right?
Yeah.
So, like I've been reading books like Business Secrets in the Bible, and and it's been clear that everyone has some kind of talent or contribution to the greater global community that you were given. It's like your role, your way,
superpower.
And are you using that for God's people? Like, are you really doing that, or are you like on a solo mission to make as much money as you can make? So that's part of the reason why I felt like I, called to do this thing. But it's also so good to have these kinds of conversations, like real life people and entrepreneurs and people who are remarkable and killing the game. And, life is going to take you through so many different phases, and every phase looks completely different. So, the demands, the needs are completely different. Like, we were talking about entrepreneurship 10, maybe 15 years ago, you would be talking about your other businesses. Now, about,
my daughter and my son, because eventually whatever we create here is also going to translate into him. He wants to be a politician. And honestly, they reach back to, oh, you was 13 and you did blah, 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 in a positive or negative light, so he may change, he may not change. It don't even matter. He's going to be in position.
He's going to be in position. And the fact that he has an interest in it already is amazing.
Yeah, he just got accepted into Veritas Debate Institute here in Metro Atlanta. They're amazing. It's nothing like it. And when I saw it, I was like, this is exactly what we've been looking for him, because I couldn't find anything his age group where he's going to be, trained in philosophy and, debate and speech and all of those things. And, again, I have positioned them so far now by getting them training, getting them into spaces and surrounding them with people who are on similar missions as them. Like I said, the iron sharpens iron, and people who know better than I do on the things that they're interested in. As mom, I customize my parenting as a student of each child. And so because of that, the parenting plan for each child is different. And so
that is so dynamic. As a mom who has one kid who's 4 years old, who I love to pieces, but mine's is more of a solo mission in terms of parenting, and the levels of exhaustion running a business, caretaking a parent and a child, but just the personality that's already coming up at 4 years old. I can only imagine how many personalities are moving around that house at one time. Woo!
At the core, Zuri and Mikkel are both the same kids they were at 4. At their core. Yeah. Zuri is still very much just, she doesn't meet a stranger. Singing is what she does. She's dramatic as her mother, and all of the things, right?
Doesn't meet a stranger. There's so much to that.
Mickey, however, he has to fill you out. He has to almost deem you worthy of a conversation with him, not because he's better, but because he thinks on such a high level, even at 4. And when he's into something, he is completely into it. Like at 6 years old, he was making YouTube videos about mnemonic devices for planets, for the planets. Like this, he knew everything space. But he's still that same kid. He's just, he has a deeper voice. The hormones have gone all throughout, they get a little sassier, as they get a little older, and you got to reel them on in and be like, I'm not the one, all of that. But at the same time, they are who they were at that age. They are the same kids.
I mean, that is God's work you're doing over there. I'm very excited. I can't
Mashallah.
I can't wait to see Miss Thing doing the whole media circuit. It's going to be great.
It is. I'm excited. I'm excited for the work that we'll do together. And I appreciate just what you're doing here. You know, I was feeling so like lost as far as I know with my skill set, even just, I know I could be doing something. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing anything. And just kind of being like, look, what? I was just on the internet, like, what is going on? What's Shantae doing? What's Shantae doing? Oh, what's that? You know, because whenever I think of it, you and Saptosa are like it for me when it comes to, you know, PR and marketing. Like, you guys are it. And I'm always kind of like, okay, what would, you know, I decided when I got out of PR, it was literally to do what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. It was to be this, you know, I wanted to do this family thing. I wanted to do that. And I wanted to be very customizing my life around it. Yes. Because that's my dream. I think people get it twisted sometimes when they're like, oh, what's your, I always, since I was a little, I wanted to be a wife and mother. I wanted to have a family. That was like my dream. And I think that we've gotten away from being, like feeling like it's okay for that to be the thing, or for that to be your dream, and be vocal about it, you know? Mm-hmm. As if, you know, you got a master's degree and, you know, public relations, and you've done all of these things, and, you just want to be a wife and mother. Yes, that is the family is what I do.
The word just is the problem in there.
That is the just. It is the just.
To be a wife and mother. It's not even that. I mean, first of all,
it has never been.
The word mother is like 50 titles all in one. People have no idea. Like, when somebody says, oh, you just want to be a wife and mother, it's like,
or when they talk about like stay-at-home moms, I'm like, you have lost your whole entire mind. Do you know the matter of logistics that goes into, like, the master in logistics that goes into
operations manager all day long,
my multitask, like CEO, like financial, like is.
And thinking for everyone, to like literally averting disaster 5 times a day, because you have to think ahead for everyone who is like able to go think freely because somebody else is taking care of the scary stuff. Like,
and that is one part of the job. So then if you also have a job, mm-hmm. and then you also have a business,
right,
of any sort, because mm-hmm. businesses are children too.
Oh yes,
they are whole children, whole babies.
You grow it like you grow a baby, and just
the same exact way.
And who is the caretaker? It doesn't matter how many other people you employ at your business. Not a single one of them is going to love that baby like you will.
Like you love that baby, and that's just
all day long about what I need to do to grow this baby in a healthy way. Like that is a
it's the same level of mindset, mind power, brain power that goes into raising children. Even like, where do you want to see this going? Yep. What am I doing today so that I can get it XYZ in 10 years, like the same question you just asked. So I got some good nuggets here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with Viri, because I want her to be very much involved. Some of the young ladies that I've seen really evolve in their careers, Zendaya, right?
Oh,
like
phenomenal.
I love Zendaya, and I was watching an interview that she did with Issa Rae. That's awesome. It's on YouTube. And she talks about how she would just show up on red carpets, uninvited. Mm-hmm. But to a point that it was like, if Zendaya wasn't on the red carpet, the event wasn't even like Like it got like
she doing on these red carpets.
She would be dressed and doing the red carpet walk. Like, and she wasn't even invited to the event. She would just go to these events. And then until she became a staple.
Mm-hmm.
And she was young. She was a baby. She was a little thing, maybe a teenager. Mm-hmm. Right? But she's evolved in her career because even when she was on Disney, she was involved in that project.
Well, also that constant, what's the right way to describe it?
Relevancy, how she keeps herself relevant.
No,
it's amazing.
Constant presence, physical presence at red carpets was an act of positioning.
Yep. Absolutely. And when you said positioning earlier, that is exactly what I thought of. I thought of Zendaya,
a Hollywood staple. I mean, in her own way, because obviously sounds like a lot of those projects she wasn't even in, but she was a teenage Hollywood staple that you just see everywhere. And if you don't see her, like, what was she not doing there? Like,
was this even today? Wasn't it right?
But I will say this. So, like, we have 10 minutes left, and we'll probably need to do a part 2 to get through the 5.
Yes, I gotta talk with Zuri. Yeah.
But the third part that I'd like to throw out there for you guys to really think about is the third part of the first part is mindset. The second part is, where should I be focusing my energy? Like, what outlets would I want to be positioned in, and who do I need to be speaking to? And the third part is extracting what's remarkable about my business, right? What is it about the business of Zuri that stands out as, remarkable? The one thing about our businesses, right, is when you eat, sleep, and breathe something all the time, every part of it is amazing to you. You could talk about it for hours, and you don't even realize other people's eyes have glazed over about 10 minutes in, because all of it is amazing to you, because this is the life you're living. Right? So you are like, oh my God, that was so amazing. Did you see that? And everybody else is like, no, I didn't see that. What was it? And you're going on and on and on, right? So most people have one or two if you're really lucky, but one really remarkable thing about their business that they have nailed, that has catapulted them into a high level business. What is that one thing, if you had to boil it down? Because this is not like a quiz, so you don't have to answer it right now, but especially when you're talking talent in a sea of young talent, what is that thing? Is it, is it at a soul level? Is it the community that is built? Is it this, sometimes it's just the impact that, or the way that you make people feel when you walk in a room. It's all those kinds of things that separate personalities, and two people can start at the same time, and one's career can catapult and the other person stalls out. And sometimes it's the nicest person, the nicest, sweetest person who stalled out, and the person who just happened to have a machine behind her that made it. Sometimes it's all about the setup, the infrastructure, the team, the way that the personality is magnetic. You could, it's a million different things, but if you had to identify, this is what's amazing about what we're doing here. And what would that thing be? I would spend some time on that.
I'm going to have to spend some time on it for sure. Right out the gate, I would, and I'm going to spend more time on this, but out the gate, I would say what makes Zuri, the business of Zuri, remarkable is she has this little bitty body and this huge voice. I don't know if you've heard anything from her lately, but she has just little bitty body. Shantae, when you hear it, you're gonna be like, that is Zuri. That is Zuri. I sing, I hold a note, I can hold a note,
I don't know that, but thank you.
Yeah, I can hold a note. She had to get it from somewhere, at least the beginnings of it. But
I know that.
I said to her the other day, I said, girl, you can out-sing me, child. You can out-sing me under the table. But she said, I can belt better than you, but I wouldn't say I'm a better singer than you. And she's 11 talking like this, you know, like she's identified certain things that, okay, for me, this is my strength, but you have something to show and teach me still, right? I think with Zuri, between her voice and her coachability, she's just remarkable as a small human. I just can't even believe she takes direction in a sea of kids that may be talented too, but they sassy and they, you know, it's a lot going on with some of these small humans, but she's just so sweet, and I hope she stays sweet for a long time, please, as these hormones are raging and you know, she's making the change. But her voice is definitely a remarkable thing. I think in a room full of talented people, Zuri stands out.
Okay, I will also say that one of the